Greetings everyone, this is Lodrik and this is our game War in the Pacific Admirals Edition. And today we load turn number 2 in our match against Dojo. We check the combat animation and see what gets wrong and what was successful, and maybe I can explain what I would change in the next match. So we are now at 9th of December 41, the first day of the second turn. We had just a double attack on Pearl Harbor and a double attack on Manila, and the landing in the Malayang area, and yeah, this is now still land or amphibious assault on the Philippines area. And like I said before, I would not really land troops in this base. I would focus everything in San Fernando, simply because to take this base will not give you much advantage. I would simply focus everything on one base, and you will have you will suffer less losses. Yeah. Here we have one of the Dutch submarines. Yeah, and I would say this was a successful attack. This was the first time that some of Dojo submarines can really intercept one of my cargo ships and troops on board, so it's always painful if you have something like this. And here's the first Japanese submarine can I think it was the first time that we find enemy ship, AVP. You can also here see in the top right of Manila the area that are already Dojo try to ship all out of Manila what he can get out. And I think he's similar to Singapore. And I simply try to bring immediately submarines in a position where we can at least try to intercept shipping. And yeah, you will not get everything, that is for sure, but if you can maybe kill 10 or 20% of the cargo and troop transport what the allied player try to get rid or get out of the area, then it's already a success. More sinking of allied ships. This is now only a small cargo ship, and this cargo ship have no deck gun, and so the captain simply choose to use his submarine deck gun. This is 12 centimeter gun, so this gun can make really damage. It's similar to a destroyer gun. Yeah. But he still also used torpedoes, so. But that ship is more or less dead. This is I think a cruiser formation for some bombardment of Guam, but normally in Guam there is not much stuff, and I don't think that compared to Wake is important to take early, and in Wake you can make some bombardment to soften up the enemy defense force. In Guam, it's nearly impossible for the Allies to really support this base. So you can bombard this unit, but I would say there's other stuff more important. And to use 4 heavy cruisers for some so remote, unimportant bases, maybe a little waste. So maybe they use these heavy cruisers for bombardment in Philippines, or maybe support strike and Wake. But for Guam, I think it's a little waste. And if you take Guam immediately or after 1 month or after 2 months, there's no benefit normally. This base gives you nothing. Okay, additional landing. And here you can see that here is still, there are some coastal guns, and they're making a lot of hits on one of these APs. And so heavy damage and heavy fire means this ship is more or less lost. We lost also a lot of units here now because the transport is damaged. So I would say again, better focus everything on San Fernando but don't care this base. Better take the base as fast as possibly with your ground forces. And if the enemy, the American forces can escape, it will not really change much. It will not, if you crush them in later in the main base or early on, not a very big change. Here we can see that the troop transporter get additional 3 hits. But now all the troop transporter unloaded the units on board. So this means why we still get hits on the troop transport, but there's nothing more on board this troop ship. So only the Allies lost some counter battery fire now. This is I think original invasion fleet, and already on the way back I think to Saigon, and we here just intercept some maybe small destroyer. Yeah, it's a destroyer. But we have here light cruisers and a lot of destroyers, escorts, so it's one-sided battle. We get a little counter battery fire, but at the end nobody, it doesn't matter. But the efficiency is of course that our units more or less is only these are escort for this invasion fleet. So their main purpose is to escort and make sure that the cargo ships are safe. They are not a primary focus now on hunting down this enemy destroyer. So I think this is the reason why we not really sink it immediately. You can see we have here a submarine, and everywhere where it's narrow or where it suggests that the allies will normally try to escape, like from Singapore, Palembang, and then normally you must cross this base. So I always bring a submarine in, to block the way, to intercept, to have at least to try to get a kill. You can see this has small tankers, so I don't know, maybe load capacity of 2000, not much more maybe. So the value is maybe 3-4 points. But the first months is normally the time where you can get a lot of kills easily, because there's still no organization for the allies. So in this 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you really can try to think what is possible. There's not so much that the allies can do to threaten you. If you get rid of the Prince of Wales and the repulse, these are the two heavy units here normally. If you not intercept these two battleships, or battlecruiser and battleship, of course that is a force you must be a little careful. But in our first turn we more or less sunk or heavily damaged these two heavy units, so they are not more combat ready. And that means there are only here light cruisers and destroyers, and there is normally nothing what we not can normally fight. And so of course we spot now a lot of enemy task forces. You can also see that I use my, I think 4 or 5, maximum 6 Japanese submarines with mines at the start, and you can drop the mines normally at some important location where there's a lot of navy traffic. So I use Bataan in Singapore, and I think also near Java there are some hotspots of navy traffic, and there you can drop your mines and hope that maybe you can damage some ships. It's not really the most efficient weapon system in this game, but I count mines more for defense and not so much for offense ability. But the idea is, if we have here some mines and ships won't come in or out of Manila, then they have still a possibility that they hit this mine and gets damaged or sunk immediately. Yeah. Now we can see this is our fighters operating out of Taiwan. So it means a long range with drop tanks. and they're sweeping the 3 bases. And we simply try to kill and destroy immediately. Still this not well trained pilots. The ally player more or less have a choice. They can try to fight here in Manila, but then you have often old airplanes and not so skillful pilots. So if we try to fight, I mean, Dojo try, I think, to keep the control of the air about this bases. But I use more or less only 0 fighters, so elite pilots. I don't use any no Cloud, no K-27 army fighters. So normally the zeros, they are simply much better. The experience of these pilots are great, and the airplane is more advanced compared to the rest. But the allies have more or less also the option to pull out most of the stuff and avoid the attack. And maybe only training. So for the Japanese, I think it's still better to destroy a lot of airplanes at the beginning. I would say what I did here is more or less to damage and destroy most of the ally airplanes and don't let them escape. Try to get rid of them so that the allies don't have the possibility to train them slowly. I mean, if you try to save this air wings, you still need 1 month or maybe 2 months of training to get them on the same level like the Japanese fighters. But at least it's possible. Now I kill them maybe 1 to 3 or something like this, and of course I lose zeros and skillful pilots. We are a little unlucky, I would say, because we damage most of these warhawks, but we not really kill them. And I mean, to damage them is also not bad. But kills are always more sweet to have. So we killed some and we damaged more, but we also had some damage. Zeros must return, and this is a long distance, like I said before. to survive this is not easy for damage 0 to return all this way. So we will maybe also lose some zero fighters now. And the most important is that we not break the enemy defense, so there are still a lot of interceptors. And maybe I would say you must break this the Clark field cap. You must focus. I also scout more or less the Manila and the southern base of Manila. There's also airports. These three have more or less airports. But the most important is that you normally, I think, break all resistance in Clarkfield. So you must maybe send more zeros, concentrate on Clarkfield after the first surprise attack. Maybe intercept here also in Manila now 25 Warhawks. But the main enemy air force is still on Clarkfield, and you normally must have as soon as possible the bombardment of the enemy airfield, so that you, once the enemy airplane is damaged, that you always try to bomb this airfield, that you always damage again and again, so that any damaged airplane is never more ready, don't get repaired, that you always suppress this airbase. Because if it's possible to suppress Clarkfield airbase, then the other airports are okay for fighters, but for bombers I think they're too small. Yeah. The Warhawk is maybe not so bad, but I think in the original setup most of the American pilots, they are just simply greenhorns. They very fresh. There are for sure no elite pilots. This is the Philippines. I don't think that the Americans have really a lot of experienced guy here. It's only a support air force. It's the American Philippines Air Force. So I don't know how many Filipinos are here as a pilot, how many Americans. And yeah. If the Allies player can more or less, because the airframe itself is okay, maybe, yeah, it's nothing super great, but you can get more out of this. So there's an option to save this airframe, try to get them back to Australia or maybe Java. Or you get good pilots into Philippines in the first week. I think we can skip this now. This will be... I mean, it's not that we really completely dominate this. The problem is still that we come from Taiwan, so it means our every mission our fighters are running, it's a long distance, so our pilots are tired. I don't know if the game, how the game calculates this, if the fatigue will calculate it by one way, means that we start with the fatigue, then the game calculates if they arrive and then they get half of the fatigue, and then they return, then they get the other half of fatigue. But anyway, the problem is we already fight at the first day and the second day, and this is now already the third day, a long range mission. So these pilots are now very tired. They don't have more the best efficiency and skill. The skills are still the same, but the pilots simply cannot use more all the skill points, I think. So keep this in mind. If the fatigue is over 20, at least if it's over 25, you better let the squadron rest and get it 10. Around 10 is still okay. I would not go over 20 if you really want attack an enemy base, because you fly to the enemy base. If you get killed, you are for sure you lost your pilot. For defense is something else, because if the pilot jump out of your airframe, then you often still can save the pilot. And if he's tired, then maybe he will maybe lose the airplane, but his life maybe you can still use the pilot some other day. But to send a tired pilot on a long range mission, simply the risk will be for me too high. Okay. So you can see officially we kill 1 to 4. We will see at the end of the day. These are the British destroyers in Hong Kong. Normally I would say that Dojo normally must send them out immediately, but for some reason he keep him in Hong Kong. So, and destroyers are simply not easy to attack, even if these are really good navy bombers. But destroyers are still small and fast. But I had my navy bomber simply on navy attack, so they choose the target. And they saw these destroyers, and so they think, okay, these are juicy targets. I would say no, they're not juicy. I would always attack cargo shipping first, but you cannot choose this. This is only some bombardment in China. And this is now the biggest problem. At least some bombers already turn around, but we had two little zero fighters here in Clarkfield, so we don't break the enemy cap. And now we have a lot of, not a lot, but we have still enemy fighters here, and our army bombers are really, they have nearly no chance to fight against anything like this. Maybe if there's only P-35, then I would say maybe it's possible, but the Warhawk is already the next generation. This is like the beginning of 30s, or the mid-30s fighter, and this is also mid-30s bomber. Maybe they can fight each other, we lose some bombers but not too many. But these are the end 30s, at least the next generation already. And this is far too strong for this kind of bomber. So we will lose here now some bombers. And I think the whole... two bombers will... At least we have a successful attack, but without meaning, because two bombs do nothing. So this attack was a failure. It's based more or less on that we had not enough fighters to break the enemy cap. So I would maybe say don't attack Clark Field in this situation, because you cannot make sure that you break this the cap. I would say keep your bombers, use your bomber for something safe, maybe training or bombing in China, where you make sure that there's no enemy interceptors, and you let first run fighters, and you first must make sure that the cap is totally broken or very destroyed and not more much left. So I would simply not. I think this was a mistake by me. Normally I don't want to attack, but I think I forgot this squadron. I don't know why, but I think this is really a mistake. Make no sense. And here again, at least some bombers are clever enough to realize. Originally there was 15 bombers, and half of the bombers they realize, okay, there is enemy fighters, but some bombers are more aggressive or don't realize the threat. Now we have the same problem like before. This is simply too much firepower for the bombers. And we're losing now half of the bombers. I mean, from the guys they try to attack, and the attack is completely shattered. So with the Japanese, it's simply you always must make sure that the enemy cap is broken, because the Japanese bombers really never, at least not at the beginning, have a chance against any interceptors. And before you're losing your well-trained bombers, the bombers can make damage, but they simply cannot fight with fighters. So this is a handicap. I mean, the Americans with the B-17s, they can take the damage. They can take the bunch. All the damage of. I mean, for the Japanese, it's really hard to kill the B-17s. The other bombers are maybe also more easy to kill. But the Japanese, they don't have something like this. They only have these light bombers and small, medium bombers. They always will lose the battle. These are some of this Dutch, also similar to our bombers. I think they carry 300 kilo bombs, but 2 of them. But out of 15,000 feet, of course, it's hard to hit something. Okay, here now we lost one of our troop transporter. Before get already, I think 5 or 6 shell hits from the coastal guns. So we really scout here and see a lot of enemy task forces. You can see they are all, I think, from Manila, and they're trying to maybe go direction of Singapore. Bad weather. And again we try to hit these destroyers, and this time we was lucky. We get a torpedo in the enemy destroyer. This is normally enough to sink a destroyer, but anyway we can see this. The scout destroyer, one hit, one kill. Normally this is always a destroyer is not strong enough to handle this kind of damage. A small cargo ship. I think this is also enough. Yeah. So if you have long range torpedo bombers at turn 2, or yeah, latest at turn 2, I would say better go for navy attack. Don't try more to make a port attack or airfield attack here, because this is still too dangerous. You must first get rid of the enemy fighters. But if you you tell your torpedo bombers make a navy attack, long range, then they only attack ships in the ocean. Of course, the torpedo bombers still can attack maybe Manila, because there are maybe ships not in the port, but outside of the port. Then the torpedo bombers will still go for this, and then you will still have the trouble that enemy interceptors will normally attack your bombers. But there is some problem with the game. You simply only can tell them what they have to do, and then you tell them the maximum range. And the choice where the airplane will go is simply really by the commander. So if in this case it was lucky, this was okay, because he had tried to attack here something, and these ships normally can maybe escape more easy. Or if these torpedo bombers go for Manila, maybe they also all dead. Yeah, but okay, so this is now the end of the airstrikes. More shell bombardment. Yeah, this shell bombardment comes, I think, simply too late, because our invasion fleet was already here, and we lost already the transporter. I mean, it's not wrong to make a shell bombardment even after you make the landing, but for us, simply too late to save our transporter. I mean, it's not super efficient, but we disable 3 guns. We use 2 heavy cruisers, the rest is normally, these light cruiser destroyers don't really make a lot of damage. This is a cargo ship, I think the Dutch submarine put a torpedo before inside. So we lost 1 troop transport by coastal guns and 1 cargo ship by torpedo attack so far this turn. Yeah. So now first troops landing on Borneo. There's simply some units already prepared for some bases. I would normally not attack the Kudat so much, but there's simply some units have from the original setup already preparation for the bases. So and then if the unit have a preparation, why not use it? So this is here west of Wushang. There's the Chinese forces at the beginning, 1 corps, and I simply won't get rid of it because it's an easy target. Go fast in, use what you can get, and destroy them. Or I mean, normally they run away. In this case also they run away, but they have no fighting power left. So it's not really important to destroy them completely, but make sure they have no fighting ability left. Here also at the border of Vietnam, but I think this was too. We had tried, but it was a failure. The enemy was too strong. There we can see we lost no unit but disabled. Okay. So this is now the base. So we take the base. The landing itself was successful, but we lost some units and we lost 1 good troop transport ship. And I mean, you can say we destroyed a lot and we also disabled a lot. So the fight was okay, but I don't know if it's really necessary to do this. And this is here at the San Fernando. There we can see there's only very small Filipino, like a part of a division or something, and we have much more fighter attack power. You can also see that here's the army HQ already. Here's the air HQ, a lot of artillery stuff, a lot of construction companies. So if we take over, we can take the base, we repair the base, and immediately the next turn we can bring our fighters and our bombers here, and we can also increase the size of the airfield, and then we run the interceptors and our fighters, bombers on short range missions. So if they get damaged, they have a very high chance to return. And even if our pilots gets destroyed and we control the hex next to it, there's also a chance that this pilot still can reach our own line. So we don't have so many pilots in lost in mission. No. So again, 70 to 1,500. This unit is also completely destroyed. And this unit is forced to return to the north, so it cannot link up with the main army force. So this is a lost unit for Dojo. This is now south of Manila. Here it is important. Normally I can bring maybe some more forces, but I thought this is enough. It is enough to take the base, but maybe next time I would say better bring 1 or 2 units more. A little more fighting power here is not wrong. I mean, we destroyed, we not lost any unit, only some disabled. But it's maybe, if the allied player go with all the forces out of Manila and try to attack you, then maybe you get have a problem. Yeah. This is Kota Baru. Also no problem. To take Kota Baru is normally a must. That you must have immediately to get an airbase here. It's if you have an airbase here, you can simply operate the fighters near the front line, and have also you can close the street completely. And we destroy a lot of airplanes because all these airplanes was damaged on the ground. So, and then now they are destroyed. And the same with Kuantan. Kuantan is maybe even more important because you need an airbase here to have the air cover. If you want to attack Mersing, you need normally Kuantan first. If you have Kuantan, then you have an airbase, and then you can make a cup to Mersing. And then you can, what I will do, more or less bring some task forces to Mersing. If you have no air cover in Mersing, then you can still of course make the attack on Mersing. I mean, you will simply only suffer more if you don't have anything what protect your navy nearby. Okay. So the landing operation are all successful, I would say. Then you lose 1 or 2 ships is totally normal. It's impossible. Or if you lose nothing, then the allied player makes something wrong, or you are really lucky. So here again we destroy some airplanes on the ground, and we lost again. Nothing is destroyed, only disabled, and we damaged heavily his forces already. This is only some small base with empty base. This is an allied bombardment, so we can see already that we bring enough forces normally to attack the base next time. But we just make the landing this turn, so we normally cannot attack. So the attack will be first in the next turn, not the next day. Okay. We took 3 bases in the Philippines, and we also took the 2 more very important bases in Malaya. So all landings was successful. I mean, this is also important that if you want land somewhere, then you must really make sure that it's successful. Nothing is more a disaster than you land somewhere with 2 less forces, not enough prepared, not enough bombardment support or something. Here we have some base with not enough garrison, so we lost 1 victory point. This can happen at the beginning. There's not nothing. You must still move some units. To lose 1 point, 1 point is nothing. But of course, you better make sure that you don't have some more bases without garrison, and then you lose again and again every time some points. For a short term, I would accept it, but not for a long run. Okay, so we try to unload here something. Rapidly, we miss a mine cruiser, a mine layer. Normally it's not a cruiser, it's only mine layer, I think. But here it's near the port of Palembang. This is a bigger tanker now. Maybe something like, looks like 4,000. Or maybe a 4,000 ton tanker. And the tanker is burning, is normally also dead, more or less. Yeah, we get the information that the tanker just go down. This is the next mine layer. We tried to attack but failed, but he also failed to attack us, more or less. I mean, at least he attacked, but no damage. There's the next tanker. But this time we failed. Mine layer and submarine. Nothing. The third time over. Here we have also it's a good troop transporter and get some shell hits. Not damaged but on fire. But yeah. Sometimes you must risk some stuff. Miri, I would always say go for Miri if possible fast. Miri is still a very center location. You can attack with the long range Nell bombers normally everything around Borneo. So it's a good base to bring some air HQ fast and some long range bombers. Ocean Island also only for the resources. There's some small, I think, ally unit here. More landings. Yeah, because at the beginning of the war you have some troops in Japan ready for reinforcements. You can send them to China, you can send them to Philippines or to Malaya or Borneo, wherever you want. And I choose normally to bring them to the Philippines, and it's simply more easy, a little faster if you bring them on this route directly in the east side of the Philippines. Then you can save 1 or 2 turns to unload them faster. Then you are, it's more or less, if the focus is Manila, then this is the shortest route. You can bring them very quickly to the front line. If you want to go more for Clark Field, maybe you better land them in San Fernando and then walk down. Depending what is more important for you. For me, it was most important to take Manila because all the American supplies are mostly in Manila. If you take Manila, then the clock is, or the time is running against the Allies because they're normally starting to suffer quickly. If the Allied player cannot bring in additional supplies to Bataan. And in the, like I said, in the beginning, the first maybe 2-3 weeks, you can also make this smaller task forces with only one heavy unit and additional small destroyer patrol boat support, because there's not much really the Allies can do, and you better have more task forces for hunting to get rid of this many small ships. There's a bigger tanker. Oh, an oiler, not a tanker. I mean, it's a tanker, but normally it's an oiler. So, the military edition. This looks like a troop transport. Looks good. No success. And again, the main, this time we not even start attack. No. Okay, here we intercept the destroyer. And the destroyer go down. Now we get all the scout information again. The better or more scouts you have, desto higher is the detection on the enemy task force. And the higher the task force of a unit or more detection level you have on the enemy task force, the more or the higher is the chance that your Navy attack squadrons will find the target, and they also, I think, have a better chance to hit the target. Simply because they really know where the target is moving, with what speed, so they can prepare and intercept better. So a high detection level on the enemy task force is always normally better. So scouting and recon is at the end the support for your fighting forces. They not attack something, but they let your attack squadrons prepare better, fight better with higher efficiency. So it is important to scout. One kill again. Some ground support bombardment. Yeah. Only the support for this invasion operation. This is our Zero fighters again. This time not really the best, because I think this the pilots are simply tired. This I would simply say in this, because they had already in the first turn 2 days air battle, and then I would better let them rest. I would simply not attack Clark Field, or only with fighters they are not tired. Here's the kill ratio already better. 1 to 3 is good. Yeah, it's really not easy to hit the destroyer, but they can try. Okay, this is now Dojo's counter strike. But they hit something, but it's not really important. So this time we get a escort. This is of course better than last time, but still I think it's still too risky to use bombers so long you have enemy fighters in the air. The main idea was to use bombers immediately after the first turn to keep the airfield damaged, to keep the damaged airplanes on the ground also damaged, to damage them again, and everything what Dojo can repair gets damaged immediately. But it's not enough. It's not possible, the range is too long. You need the airbase in the Philippines, you need San Fernando. So, yeah. Yeah, I can only say poor Navy bombers. At this time, I said, yeah, maybe this time we was lucky. So I would say, okay, now our bombers can damage the runway. But we're still losing a lot of bombers here. Even if we kill one on the ground and we damage a little the runway, but so long the Dojo have a Manila, there are enough supplies to repair normally the airbase. After you take Manila and also capture most of the supplies, then it's not more so easy for the allies to repair the airbase. But yeah. So, and again we lost some Navy bombers here. And this is now the problem with this 2-day turn setup. If you make one mistake with the airplane like this, then you will suffer double. If we have a 1-day turn, then of course after the first day I will already say, oh, don't attack more. But in this case you pay for your mistakes more heavily. But this goes in both directions. If Dojo make a mistake, so we can see that one troop transport have problems with flotation. Here we see we hit a small cargo ship. And a patrol ship, a patrol boat, patrol torpedo boat maybe. Yeah, this is now the Kibutai is on the way back to Truk, I think, and we are just in range to make a attack on the Johnston Island installation port airfield, but there is at the start of the war not much, so it was only we had nothing to do, so our units simply say, oh, let's attack. And we have one bomb hit on the mine layer and a little port damage. Okay. So, but we can see we make port attack. So we make only port attack. So a lot of bombs for a small port and not really much damage. So yeah, maybe we get some experience. So the Dutch bombers coming again. And again wait. Okay, the British attack the airfield. Yeah. Ah ja. So we took the base just in the first day of the turn. So it's of course not possible to have now here interceptors, but means in the beginning of the next turn I will move the fighters here to have local cap to make sure that every attack Dojo will try in the future I can intercept. There is our second transport ship, troop transport ship. We are losing. There we intercept a Hong Kong, I don't know, maybe a Chinese troop transport ship, but it's operating for the Allies, so one of Dojo's ships, and also go down. There we're losing a cargo ship. And I think this is okay. Ocean Islands, battle. But there's only a base force. This is nothing really. Can find. Bombardment. Also Kunching bombardment. Okay. So this is now the end of the turn 2. So we arrived at December 11th, 41. And we first can check the air losses. And we can see here that this is one of, I think, only 2 days or 3 days in the whole of the war so far that the Japanese have more losses than the Allies in air-to-air. And the main reason is simply that this bomber fleets out of Taiwan try to attack Clark Field without the air cover, and without that, that the Dojo's fighters are still ready to operate. And this was a big mistake, simply. The operational losses for Dojo, they are very high because this is as a basis. There was damaged airplanes on the ground, and then we destroy this, and this is, I think, the operational losses. And we can check. So today we lost 18 Nell bombers, and also 15 zeros in air battle. But the zeros, I would simply say, yeah, not good, but you use this 15 zeros to kill 18 Warhawks, and you also hear 9 more Warhawks, and 4 here. So if you count only the fighters, then we lost 15 fighters, Dojo lost 18, plus 9, plus 4 more here. And yeah, the buffaloes, I don't know, I think they are from Malaya. So fighter air 4, we killed 2 to 1 maybe, something. This is okay, but we lost simply far too many of our bombers, especially the Nell bombers and Navy bombers. They have normally very good experience. This is a waste. The Key 48, they are normally not the best army bombers. Still, it's a loss. And we can see in total we kill 40 buffaloes. These are fighters. The next is our Nell bombers. So we lost a lot of Nell bombers already. But we also killed a lot of Dojo's torpedo bombers. Nearly equal. This is important that you get rid of these Malayan torpedo bombers, because they can really damage everything and sink every ship with a torpedo very fast. Even battleships. And yeah. So in the campaign, in all these 2 turns, Dojo lost now 73 to 55. But this is if you add this up. So he had a lot of operational losses. So it is still you can still say this is okay, because 7 to 5, this is I think a standard turn. But many of our losses from today are not so great. Ship sunk this last turn. So the Japanese lost now in this turn. This was, I think, the most bloody and costly turn in the whole war the Japanese had. We lost 2 good troop transport ships simply by coastal gunfire, the 155 and the 180, so these are all coastal guns. This is simply by unlucky. You must make these invasions, and you must risk it. And these other 2, these are from wildebeest. I mean, some bombers bomb it. So you can see the 500-pound bomb. So this is a drop from an airplane. So you can see this is a good troop transport. This is the next good fast troop transport. This is unlucky, but better you use troop transport and cargo ships and not destroyers, cruisers or battleships or something else. This is for the Japanese, and the Allies, they lost last turn. So the oiler, also troop transport, tanker, more troop transport, a lot of submarines go down, and additional stuff. So we sunk much more, but still for us it was not a... We also lost something. Good. And we can see now, today we lost 20 pilots killed and 18 pilots are missing. So wounded, okay. So we still have no ace. Pretty. Yeah. In China, in Manchukuo, you can see also that I start to take out more out of Manchukuo, so maybe one more turn and I can close to 8,000. And still the units are moving here. You can see the forces are here starting to move out. And I also manage here some stuff, try to get rid of this unit. Here units are moving north to try to get the space. Yeah, we had to fight here, and I move all out of Aichang because it's not possible to hold this. And I organize here the Mongolian army, or the Mongolian garrison army, and other stuff here. This needs still some more time to really operate well. But we take all the 3 bases, and I can maybe show the pilots. They are you can see this guy is sweeping with a range of 11, so it is only a normal radius. The drop tanks, so it's still a normal sweep IBA is still in range of not extended, so it's only normal sweep. So this means also the fatigue is still very low. So this unit is okay. This unit is also Clark field. Fatigue is a little higher. Okay. And this is also okay. And this unit was not running. Fatigue. A little strange. But normally, Manila, Clarkfield, Escort, yeah. But I would simply, the next time I would say, I use all my fighters to sweep. And all bombers rest. This was our naval attack in port, but Manila, so this is risky. If we find nothing for naval attack, he will make a port attack. This is the same. Also. And here you can see this is a unit, they suffer a lot. We had here now 12 units killed by air to air, 1 by flag. And yeah, this was simply tell all these bombers maybe only naval attack and then rest. Or you must tell them make a ground attack or port attack, but make sure that you don't come too close to this Manila and Clarkfield. Maybe you can choose some stuff in China. Because level bomber. Here, this unit also. They lost 16 bombers. Because they still had this airfield attack on Clarkfield. That is this is terrible, of course. You can see we had 27. And this guys had an experience of over 60. Normally you had your pilots, very high pilots. But now the kill ratio is very high. It's a pity. But this happened. And you must play this game and you will make mistakes and you learn out of these mistakes. So I only try to explain what I will change next time. But we took the bases. We have the air HQ here now. It's 20 seconds air flotilla. So we can now bring the 20-second air flotilla fighters, because they belonging to this air HQ. I bring them here, and then I have local cap. And then I'm normally safe, and then I'm ready to bring the invasion fleet to Mersing. They're already on the way here. So, 2 here, and I think later is coming more. Yeah. Already on the way. And submarines are here to try to intercept, blocking the port, blocking here this area of south of Singapore, try to intercept something. And you can see here, all the forces, they try to bring stuff to Philippines. This is a carrier going back. And more, a lot of stuff is coming immediately to the Philippines. Really, you have only 2 problems, that you maybe don't have enough cargo ships to transport all the units, but this is still possible to handle. The biggest problem is normally that the ports have a maximum load capacity. You cannot even load all the units immediately, so you can only load enough, then the port is full, then the task force go out, and then you can load the next task force. This is because all these ports in Thailand, you can see with 48,000 tons, it's not so great. And Sama is also, there are a lot of units here at the beginning, and it's even smaller port. So it is the limitation is often the the port size. You cannot load all your units immediately in one task force. You must create many small task forces and ship them. Okay. I think this is first enough. A lot of shipping to Truk. Truk is at the beginning really not. It's already okay, but still need more installation equipment. And you must prepare normally the strike for Raboul as soon as possible. And our carrier fleet, I think, is now already here. You can see from here to Johnson Island is a range of 8. So our strike force was just in range. Because we go up to 9. This is only to 7, but the torpedo bombers can go up to 9. But then they only loading then they have a reduced load capacity. Okay, you can see some submarines are already moving a position, but this still also needs time. Good. I would say this is first the end. I can only say that now our army in Hong Kong is ready. We have the HQ. We have 1 full division, we have a 2nd full division, and we have 2 pioneer units scanning. They are important only to break and reduce the enemy fort levels. Good. Thank you all. See you again. Take care. Bye bye.